Carbon County Memorial Hospital has made a dramatic turn in the last 2 years, predominantly the last year and a half. We've taken that thing, I shouldn't say we, they have taken that thing along with our direction from a loss of around $2 million now to a positive gain of clearly over $2.5 million in a period of about 8 months. Maybe closer to 10 months. I was on the commission when they started bringing us information that I couldn't understand as a banker of 33 years. I said, I'd like to see this information brought to us more in a business-like manner. We were getting accountant's worksheets or trial balances, if you're familiar with accounting. And certainly I can understand it, but I didn't want to spend my time, the 15 or so minutes that they were talking to us, trying to sort out where that money was going. And it's a complicated worksheet if you're familiar with what I'm talking about. So they started bringing the information to us in a typical balance, profit and loss type of statement that most of you are familiar with. In that same vein, I started asking them questions about your cash on hand. How many days cash on hand do you have? How many days accounts receivable do you have? How many days billings out do you have? How many days accounts payable do you have? And so those kind of informational measurements or ratios, if you will prefer, helps somebody trying to analyze that financial information so that you can get a feel of, you know what the normal ought to be, so now where are they at relative to the normal? And that kind of information and hammering, of course, on them to, you know, when you show the weakness out there, it's just so blatant that they know what they have to do, and of course they've done a very good job of it. Today we have about $3.6 million cash on hand, which equals about 67 days. The ideal would be 180 days. Hopefully they'll be there sometime in the very near future, but they have sure turned the corner. I am not at this point in time advocating that that hospital be turned over to an affiliate, if you will, like Wyoming, the one out in Casper, whatever the name of it is, Wyoming Medical, for the reason that right now it's working. And if we turned it over to them, we'd be turning over a cash cow to somebody else, and yet statutorily Carbon County is still going to be liable for the indigent care. I can't see giving away a cash cow and then carrying the expense of the obligation for the county. I want that cash held in Rawlins. I want it held by the hospital. I want them to be able to create an even better hospital. I want better services for all of you, and certainly myself. As has been pointed out, I'm aging, and I think it's important that we have that facility for us as we live on. Thank you.
Hey, this past week I was up here at the county fair, and I took it upon myself to go up and visit the administrator up there at the hospital. And he was lots of things. He didn't have anything called.
Gives me a chance to read them.
Oh, well, that's all right. Anyway, he was quite a guy to talk to. He's a consultant, you know, a third party, and he's come in here and he's, as Leo's pointed, has turned the hospital around. And some of that is definitely good, but the hospital, it belongs to the taxpayers of Carbon County, and the taxpayers ask the commissioners to represent them on their behalf to administrate the hospital. Okay, there's some tough choices out there right now at the hospital, according to the consultant. We can, number one, we could sell it off to another hospital and become a subsidiary. Or number two, you can treat it like a business and turn it into a cash-paying hospital. He says with Obamacare coming down, that this is probably the only way that the hospital will stand. And by what I'm saying, by turning it into a cash-paying business, is the federal government mandates that we have to take care of any person that walks through the door that has a life-threatening or limb-threatening issue. Okay, but for the other minor cuts and bruises, filling prescriptions, I've got a toothache and things like that, they should go to their normal doctor and pay the price there. But no, they're coming into the hospital and the hospital cannot collect on that. You know, the other thing that the hospital has an issue with is Medicaid. That is just about a break-even proposition with the hospital because of what they are willing to pay on any Medicaid patients. Medicare will pay you 15 to 18%. So that leaves the rest up to the taxpayer to pay. And they can probably keep the corner turning on the hospital if they treat it like a business. You know, that's an option out there. But that has to come down from the commission to direct them on how to address that, okay? So the commission itself needs to make that decision, or the board underneath the commission, how they want to handle that. Do they want to keep the door open and have the free care to all the citizens, or do they want to put a little caveat on there, and if you can't pay, you can't stay, you know, type deal. So that's a hard decision that has to be made. And if they want to keep the hospital in Carbon County, if they turn it over to another hospital, they will do that because they are in a business mode and they're going to put it in a business model, and that's how they'll keep the door open on the place. And let's see, what else tonight? Oh, there's 185 employees up there, and they're doing a very good job by reducing their staff. By when someone retires, they will take that job and squeeze it in with another job. So up, as far as I can see up there, they're doing a lot of the right positive things. But the county commissioners are charged with the upkeep and maintenance on that. So if we can turn it into a business model for the hospital, they will not be coming to the commission so much, us the taxpayers, looking for the funding to keep the door open. You know, they've requested $1+ million for the last 3 years, and they've gotten 350,000, 150,000, and this year like 237,000. They're doing their part, but the commissioners are not doing their part by making the hard decision. Thank you.
First off and foremost, two things. Number one, we have to have a hospital here in Carbon County. We have a lot of industry here, a lot of oil field presence. We have the Sinclair refinery. There's accidents that happen. First and foremost, we need that. Second off, can't hear me, okay? Second off, the other thing is not just elderly people visit hospitals. As someone stated tonight, someone broke their arm, so young people visit hospitals too. And we have to keep that. Now, the bigger definition is, what do we want here for a hospital? And the one thing I want to stress is their board has turned that hospital 180 directions. I mean, that train was going off the track, and they've turned it. So, as a commissioner, you have to work with that board and their director and see the progress they've made, see what areas they still are lacking in. Am I opposed to looking at subbing the management of that hospital out to a bigger corporation? I'm not opposed to that. I'm willing to look at that. I'm not saying that's the right decision, because I still want it to feel like a hometown hospital where you know the people in there and you're not just a number, you're still treated as a person. However, on the flip side of that, as my time on the Noise Clinic Board of Directors, the billing's what got us in trouble. And that is a comprehensive problem. You're getting ready to go from this many codes on billing to like that many codes on billing, and it's going to become more complicated. When you sub out and you sub party management out to a bigger hospital, they have legal departments that specialize in those things. They have billing departments that specialize in that. They have more resources for training, things of that nature. On the Snake River Valley, when the clinic closed and then when it reopened, they subbed it out to a local doctor in the Craig area, and they took over the management of it. That doctor has since closed it down, and it's been taken over by the hospital in Steamboat Springs. That hospital has also taken that other doctor and taken over their practice. And if you go to any of these bigger cities, you'll see there's a central hospital, and all the surrounding industries are all part of that hospital, and they're that way for a reason. It's hard to survive as a one-man mom-and-pop type shop, and that's kind of, I don't want to devalue our hospital, but it's a small-time standalone hospital, and it's hard to stay that way anymore. And I don't want to sound like a sellout or anything of that, but the issues they're facing with legal, billing, all that, it's hard to find those people right here in Carbon County that have that education and knowledge without having to send a bunch of people to training, spend a lot more money. And the other thing too is like I've said before, all the questions and the problems that hospital is facing and have faced have been asked before, and those problems have been solved in other areas. We need to tap into some of those outside resources and look into that a little more and not say, hey, we're just going to control it right here in Carbon County because we're the best people for that. Everybody in their life, if you have cancer, you don't say, hey, I'm going to treat this at home on the kitchen table. You go to a cancer specialist. It's the same thing here. If you're having trouble in the building department, that's where we need to go to outside resources and get a building expert or a legal expert that specializes in the medical field. So to say that I want to sell the hospital out, no. To say that I'm going to look at that aggressively, yes, I would look at that aggressively. Thank you.
I also talked to some medical people about the hospital, and I concur with these other guys. You know, this is never going to be the Mayo Clinic or Johns Hopkins, nothing like that. But everybody I talked to agreed that we need to keep that hospital, and I agree with them that we need to keep the hospital. In what form? I don't know. I'm open to look at all options, you know, and pick the very best option for Carbon County, whether it's affiliated to another hospital, whether it's affiliated to a doctor. I want to look at all options and pick the best option. Like Mr. Fellman said, that you know, you got a refinery here, you got a state pen here. We need the hospital. Also, it was kind of interesting talking to the medical people. They said that the emergency people in Rawlins, Wyoming, are second to none. That means they are the best in the region. So I think we're very, very lucky to have that kind of personnel here, and it makes me feel more comfortable if something should happen and I'm close to Rawlins, that they're going to come out and they'll probably save my life. So they might send me on, like flight me to Denver or someplace else, but we've got some very competent people here. Like I said, I have to take a look at all options. I'm open-minded on it, and I'm willing to hear all sides of the story. So that's where I stand.
Well, the beauty of going last is you get to clean up a little bit. First of all, 3 things you should know. The hospital is running in the black. It's made a turnaround, as Chairman Chapman said, of nearly $2 million in 10 months. That said, if that's not running like a business, I don't know. It's being run like a business with good business people on there. The second part is it's run by a joint powers board. A joint powers board is a money-generating, revenue-creating board. They're in charge of that hospital. The only thing the commissioners control, not the only thing, is we control who sits on that board. We pick our men, our people to sit on that board, and they take care of the hospital. It's their own little, there's a small county commission. They do it for us. But that said, they answer to us. So when there's an issue, they come a lot. They come before the county commissioners once a month. We see the minutes of their meetings that they've had, which are extensive. We see the numbers that they're producing, how they're generating revenue, where it's going out, where they're making cuts. We see all that. And one other thing that we see that's very, very important, we see the number of people that go in there as patients. And folks, it's not very many. And that's the key point that's going to be able to turn this hospital around. It's got to have more business. You can't be like in our area. We have a choice to go to Rawlins, Laramie, Casper, wherever. That's just where Elk Mountain sits. And we chose a long time ago when we were raising kids to go to Laramie, because the perception was the hospital wasn't very good in Rawlins. I think that perception was valid then, but I see the evaluations from the employees, how they rated their care, and it's very good. They do a good job with their care. The nurses are very, very good. They appreciate their patients. And yes, we do have an aging building. And we are statutorily charged with maintenance and upkeep on that building. Realistically, with the dollars we have right now that we're spending, we can't do anything but minor maintenance on that. And so they're doing it out of their own pocket, and in large part to keep things running. The only way to do that is with a bond and float another building, or else maybe people have talked about a tax district to help with that, and it could. I'm not advocating it as a county commissioner. I mean, all we do is put it on the ballot. One other thing you've heard that, I mean, let's sell it, let's affiliate it. That's fine, and we can go, the Joint Powers Board can come to us, discuss it, because they're very good at working with us, and say, we want to affiliate with Wyoming Medical Center, or the one out of Salt Lake, or one out of Anschutz Medical Center, and would listen to that. If it made sense, we'd say, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Another one was to sell it. One thing that the Joint Powers Board, when they as much as they control, they can't sell it. The Board of County Commissioners are the only ones that can approve that to be sold. So as this gentleman and that gentleman already said, that they were very prudent in saying they would look at all options, and we are. It's something we're doing right now. We just got to find the right mix. It's in the process. It just takes time, and unfortunately, time sometimes lingers. But you have a good Board of Commissioners that are working well with that Joint Powers Board, and I think we're finding a result.